Alright, so this is Catan Games. This is a Catan YouTube channel where we look at games and teach you a little bit more about strategies and how to play and how to win, and basically look at potential, different strategies that I use to win in games. And so we are going to be looking at this one here, which was a game winner, and how I won this game and the movements that I made to get the victory in this one. So right now we're sitting in third place. You have blue, red, black, which is me, and orange. And yeah, third place when you're putting down is probably my favorite, just because I feel like you get a good sort of survey of the board and you're not like at the end where you're getting the sort of last spot in the first go around. You get a chance to kind of plan a little bit and kind of go. And so best spots on the board: 5, 6, 9, right there. 4, 8, 5 is a pretty good spot as well, and then maybe 11, 5, 6. So blue takes what is the best spot there, and that's a pretty good spot because there's a bunch of different ways to get wheat and sheep if I want to. And you don't have to specifically be on a 3 spot. Your second go around, there's the 6-3 up top on the corner. There's also the 9, 10, 11, the 10, 11, 3, 11, 3, 6. So there's a whole host of spots to go with. I ended up going with 5, 10, 8 because 5, 6, 9 was taken. And this was pretty good because the next spot to go on, at least in my opinion, is 3, 4, 11, because that gives me 4, which is ore, which I need, and 11, which is the brick, what I need. So this is giving me a good sort of 2 resources, to go with. So I'm not really complaining with those, and yeah, that's a good spot to go with for me. We have orange, who's up next, and orange, really, there's not a ton of great spots. I'd go probably 9, 4, 11 if I was him, and then I would go probably 8, 10 on the corners. Now, going for the corners is actually not too bad if you get on a port or it's 2 good numbers rather than just going in the middle. 6, 3, 4 is pretty good as well. I think 3 and 11 are both equal in terms of their number. And if you're looking at the game and specifically where to go, we have the dots underneath each number. The red ones, 6 and 8, are the most common numbers just based on dice roll. And then as it's more harder, it is less dots. So 9 has 4 dots because there is 6 and 3 and 5 and 4, whereas 12 only has 1 dot because it's only one sort of way to get there, which is double 6s. 3 has 2 dots because it's harder to get 2 6s. It's not as hard to get, a 2 and a 1, instead. Or I guess an 11 is 5 and a 6 rather than 2 6s, which I guess is easier. So red goes right there. Red does not have any sheep, which they're really not facing towards sheep at all, but that's where they decided to go. And then blue gets a pretty good setting here with the 3, 6, 11. So first roll, nothing really going on there. Moves on. LT, red is taking his roll, and nothing really going on with that one. And puts his road towards the 3-1 port at the 11, which is not really where I'm going to go. I'm going towards that sheep port because I got to an 8 and I have a 3, which are both sheep, and those are the two best sheep spots on the board. Red throws out a trade, which I get rid of because I'm not taking that one, and I guess red moves on with its turn. It ends up making a trade with blue and moves on from his turn. Now I try to do a trade here because I want to get a development card, and red accepts that, and also blue accepts that. But I went with red because they were the first one. Get my development card, which is a knight. In the beginning of the game, I mean, it makes a lot more sense to keep your bricks, but I had already two resources, sheep and ore. Getting wheat in there gets me that development card, which, in my opinion, the best development card to get is the Monopoly, but I think knights are second on my list. And so, yeah, getting a knight and getting longest knights is pretty good. Moving on to our orange competitor. And what our orange guy has going for him is he puts down one road, getting him towards that 3-8 brick sheep 3-1 port over there. And he tries to throw out a trade, which is wheat for wood, which is declined. He throws it out there again. Sometimes people will do that. I don't know why. It's not like they're going to get it the second time around. Then we get a 7, first 7 of the game, which is blue. And I have no cards, so I wouldn't expect him to take from me anyways, because he can't. So most likely he's going to place it on one of the spots that has the other two on it, which is orange and red. Unfortunately, there is none. So he's going to have to place it on me, but he's going to have to take from red. And so he places it on the 11 and takes from red. I have a knight, so I can move that off of me anyways if I need to. LT rolls an 8, which gives me sheep, and then I end up getting a ore. I look to see what's out there and see where I want to throw this down, which I throw it down on that 4 and take from this guy here, orange, and get myself exactly what I needed, which was a wheat, and grab myself another development card, which is a knight. So I did say that my favorite development cards are the Monopoly, but I think at the beginning of the game, getting to the largest army, getting 3 knights is probably the best thing that you can do at this point. And it's a pretty good situation to get 3 of those to start, and then get some of the other development cards later on. And not really complaining on that one. So now we have an 8 rolled, which is another sheep by blue, and blue is trying to get a 2-for-1. Usually 2-for-1s work the other way, so he wants to give 1 brick for 2 ore. No one's going to do that. Maybe they'll do a 1-for-1, but definitely not going to be doing a 2-for-1 in that regard. If you're trying to trade for something, most likely you have to give up 2 cards to get it. So if he wanted a brick, he'd have to give up 2 ore, not him giving up a brick for 2 ore, because nobody would really do that. 1-for-1 swaps usually start in the beginning of the game, and then as it goes down the line, 2-for-1 swaps or 3-for-1 swaps come up more and more because you're trying to get resources. So yeah, this guy's just kind of doing his thing, and he is going with this one. Just kind of moved on. We have a 12 rolled, and 12 gives red something. which is the only resource that the 12 brings them is wood. So red wants to give a brick, and he wants a two sheep, or he wants a sheep in a wood, which again, that doesn't really make a ton of sense. Doing a 1-for-1 is a lot easier, and more importantly, it's what people are going to do. I do respond because I would do that, which is a wood for a sheep, which he doesn't accept that, and he ends up making a trade, which is 1 ore for 2 of those sheep, and he ends up getting the first points on the board, which is at that 11 3-for-1 port. I get exactly what I needed, which was a wood, because I wanted to basically cut him off from trying to go for that sheep port, and more importantly, just cut him off from trying to block me out of a spot. So 6s rolled next, which I'm not on any 6s. Red and blue and orange all get wheat. There is a good amount of wheat on the board. When you're playing, you get to not see what the numbers are, but you get question marks to tell you exactly a rough guesstimate of how many resources are on the board of each one. There was a sheep for 2 wheat trade, which I did that because I have nothing else in my hand, and I felt like a 2-for-1 getting me an extra card doesn't always hurt. So orange throws out a brick for a wood trade, because it looks like he's trying to go for a 3-for-1 port up there where he's got the 2 roads. We have 9 rolled by blue, and red gets an ore, which is surprisingly the only 9. That's a pretty popular number, so a lot of times that is a number that is chosen, but we only got 1 right there, and it's blue. Blue has 12 cards, so he's definitely going to try and make something happen, and most likely he's probably going to try and go for that 3-8 port that orange is trying to go for, because he's blocked at his 11-3-6 port, which for him, he's going to have to, do something, unless he wants to, build in an opposite direction, which he's going to have to add more roads. So most likely he's trying to figure out his best move, and it's probably going to be going towards that 3-1 port where orange is trying to get their, resources and get a settlement. So, yeah, that is what I would assume is the mentality for him. He did build a road out in the opposite direction. It looks like he's actually going for the 9, 10, 11 port, which is not a bad one for him. And maybe he'll try and make his way towards that wheat 2-1 port, which is a 5-2 brick and wood eventually. He traded 4-for-1 for wheat for 1 ore. And puts down a city, making him the second person with 3 points on the board. So now he ends up moving on from his turn. We got red, who moves at this point, going from the 4, which was, I believe, what I put down. And he is going to have to put it down on somebody. Most likely he's going to put it down on blue. And probably going to put it on that 8, which is blue and orange. The only blue that I share is that 3 sheep, which I don't think they'll put it there. So 8's a better number, and he takes the 8 spot with that robber, and he is going to basically take from one of those guys, and he takes from blue, because blue's got 3 points, and red has 7 cards in their hand. Everybody has 2 roads, so now red is basically gonna have a chance to maybe add another road and try and go towards that wood port. It's the 9 ore. Also, you could go in a different direction and go towards the 3-1 port, which is the 10 wood. He ends up just placing his road and ending his turn. Then we get a 9, which is rolled by me, which I get nothing. Red gets another card. I throw a knight down, which brings me to the 5, and I take from red, and my turn is over. I get a sheep, which and 8 is rolled, so blue gets 2 of the brick, and orange gets a brick, and I get that sheep. And then orange wants a wood, ends up trying to trade a brick, which nobody goes for, and tries to do a brick and ore for a wood, which if you look at what he's trying to do, he's trying to get that 3-1 port. He's got 6 cards. He also is throwing out 2 brick for a wood. I think by that point, if that was me and I had a wood in my hand, I'd probably ask for 2 brick and 1 ore and see if he'd do that. Nothing comes of it, so another roll, which is a 9. 9 ore going to red. Blue only has 3 cards, so they move on from their turn. Red ends up getting a 4, which is rolled, which is ore for everybody. I got 1 ore, and they all get 1 ore. Sheep for brick trade is thrown out there, which unfortunately for red, nobody takes that at the moment. And I have no use for it. I don't actually have any brick in my hand, and I basically am just waiting. He ends up making that trade with blue, and is going to most likely have a big decision. Maybe he does something his next turn. I end up getting one wood and get a 3rd robber, which will get me to largest army. I also add in another ore, which is pretty good. I end up trying to see what's out there, because when I do eventually take largest army with that 3rd knight, I will see what resources are out there for me. There is a brick for 2 brick for a wood trade, which I decline, but then they do 2 brick and an ore for a wood, which I do take that, and that is most likely because orange is going for their first points of the game right there on the 3-8 port, and basically cutting off blue from going in that direction. So now we are here, which is 3 or 2 wheat and 2 brick in my hand, which is 7 cards. It is blue's turn, and blue has a couple choices to make. They could go towards that 9, 10, 11 port. They could add, if they have enough, another city. And so this is an interesting move for them. There's a bunch of different things they can do. They can go for a development card. So right now, we're just right here waiting. And yeah, it's very, very interesting to see what ends up taking place. They end up just passing their turn, which was probably not a great move because a 7 was rolled and they have to get rid of 4 cards. Red has 6 cards, and they're going to be placed in the robber. Most likely it's going to go on one of those orange-blue spots, which is the 8 right there. And he will be taking from orange. So now, we have 7 cards for red, and we will see what red does with their hand. It is my turn next, and Most likely, I will be putting down a city, and then I will be using my robber, so I will be going from 2 points to 5 points, just like that. Um, in terms of where I put my city, it really kind of is. It doesn't really make difference. I end up going with the 3, 4, 11, because those numbers are harder to come by, 3 and 11. So I figured I would put that down, and also having two or definitely helps if I'm trying to make cities in the future. Red is trying to get a wheat, which they unfortunately are not getting. I'm not going to give that up because I do need it for my. I do need that for my city. So I'm passing on that one, even though those offers are enticing. Part of me would have loved to have done a 3-for-1 and did brick, ore, and sheep, but it didn't happen that way. So no moves have been made, and it seems like most of what Red is throwing out there is not biting. So he ends up just buying a development card, moving on. As I said before, I put 3, 4, 11, and get a point with the city, and then I put my robber giving me 2 more and take from orange. So I go from 2 points and all the way at the bottom to 5 points all the way at the top. Next turn gets me a 10 rolled, which is a wheat. Tens are a question mark to me. Sometimes they come up a lot, sometimes they don't come up at all. That's not always the best number. Well, we get a 3 there, which helps with my sheep. So we have right there in our hands a development card that is ready and available to be used if I choose to. We ended up seeing LT, who moved his robber. Red moved to that 8 and stole from blue, which was very surprising because I am in first place, so I don't know why he wouldn't put it on me. But he did put it on blue. This is a deal that I ended up accepting, which was a ore for sheep because, why not? I ended up getting a development card again, which might have not been the greatest move, but it is what I decided to go with, and that also helps because now with red getting wood, I could try and steal from him. An 11 is rolled, which gives me two brick, and always helps for sure. And we ended up moving on from there, and we have red, who gets a 6, which everybody gets wheat except for me. And LT, red, ends up adding a city and putting a road down. It's my turn, and there is a lot of wheat on the board. I end up throwing my knight on that 9. Maybe. I guess I go with the 6 instead, which is probably a better spot. The 9 is just covering red, and the 6 covers blue and red, so it made a lot more sense to go for that one. So going for a red and blue spot at this point in the game is a better one. We see orange, who wants to do this swap, which part of me wants to consider it just because I have no use for an ore right now, and if he wants to go for it, he can. And he ends up trading with red anyway, so I don't even get the chance to do anything there. He has 6 cards in his hand, passes his turn. I have 9 cards in my hand, and blue has 12, and red has 7. So if there is a 7 roll, it's not going to be good because I'd be losing 4 brick, which I don't want to do because I'm going to potentially trade those 4 in to get a settlement on that sheep port for ore. So we have, at this point, blue, who looks like he's trying to add some roads in there and gets a development card. And then red comes in with his turn, which gives me an 11, which gives 2 more brick. So there's a lot of brick on the board. If anybody had a Monopoly, then it would be a great time to snag a brick. A lot of times when I use Monopoly, I'll either go for something I need or I'll just take whatever has the most cards on the board, so I can do 3 for 1 or 4 for 1 or 2 for 1 swaps depending on what ports I have. Red ends up adding a settlement and gets on that 12-9, which is a wood port. He has 12 and he has 5 wood, which are two. I mean, 5's a good number for that. 12, just having another one helps. So that's not bad for him. And he wants to give a brick, which is a very high amount on the board, for a wood, which is a very low amount on the board. He also wants to do this one, which is brick for ore. I guess he just wants to get rid of brick. And maybe he's going to try for a development card if he can get that ore. Obviously, didn't want to go with that one. Don't really need brick. And most likely I'm going to be getting rid of most of it next turn anyways, or at least a 4 for 1. So he's basically looking for whatever offers he can get. He throws the exact same offer out, which again, I don't know why that's going to change things, throwing it out a second time. So there's that. If you were in my spot, where would you go next? What would you do? Would you try and go for another development card? Would you try and go for a settlement? Would you try and port some stuff for a city? What would you do? Would you try and go for longest road and trade some of those bricks in to get another wood and go and add 2 more roads? I end up going for the settlement here, which gets me that. And I end up porting, or thinking about porting, 2 of my sheep, but end up holding off and take the 6 points that I have and move on. We end up getting an 11 rolled, which has been giving me dividends. At the time, I was considering the 5, 10, 8 for my city. It turns out the 3, 4, 11 has been more productive in this game. It's all random, so you never know how things will turn out. So we have next up is orange, and they have 10 cards and definitely need to make something happen because they haven't really done too much outside of adding in 1 settlement. We got a 6-9-4, which is right there, and that is off the board, but it looks like orange is trying to go for the 4-9-11, which gives him some good resources. He does a 3-for-1 swap, 3 brick, and takes an ore, and ends up building a city. So everybody now has at least 1 city on the board. We get an 8 rolled, which gives me another sheep, which I could 2-for-1 port that and get a wood and do another road. I could 2-for-1 port that and get a wheat and do another development card. I also have the 4 bricks sitting there, which I can 4-for-1 that for something if I wanted to. Blue ends up getting a 4-for-1, adds in a wood, which basically will get him another road, and he cuts off red right there. And it looks like that's what he does, gets a development card, and he ends up using another development card, which is the road building one, and adds another road and gets longest road. So he goes to 5 points. So we have 5 points for blue, 5 points for red, 6 points for me, 4 points for orange. And yeah, this is a closer game than I would like. I will say, though, nobody's going to catch me when it comes to the largest army at this point. Somehow he decides to put that extra road right where that wood spot is on the 9 for some reason, which is kind of a waste in my opinion. And that's that. We end up seeing red roll an 11, which gives me 2 of bricks, and he does a 3 for 1 and ends up taking a wood, 3 brick, 1 wood. So looking at my hand, I have 6 of the bricks. I have 3 sheep and 1 ore. So I definitely have to port something or make some sort of a move, because I don't want to have 10 cards in my hand after my turn, because then I got 3 people that can roll a 7 potentially, and I lose half my cards. I don't want that. So red ends up adding 1 road going up towards the 11 5 up there. I don't really know if he's going to try and go for that same spot orange is going for, which I think he is. He adds another road by doing a 3 for 1 and adds a wood into the equation and ends his turn. And now we have my turn, where I will be rolling at this point, and I end up getting a 2, which doesn't really help anyone because it's an open space. And so now I have a choice to make. I could do a 4 for 1 and get a wood. I could do a 4 for 1 and get a wheat. I could do a 2 for 1 and get myself a wood. Most likely, a good thing to do would be to port 4 of those bricks and get that and get a development card. And then I also do a 2 for 1 and end up getting a wood, so I build a road and get a development card, which is victory point. So I'm at 7, but everybody sees 6 on their screen. So at this point, there's really nothing I can do. I only have 1 card. So I will be moving on with my turn. Yeah, there's not much to do here. I am in the driver's seat, and it doesn't seem like anybody is going for that 2, 9, 10, which it looks like that's where I will be heading at this point. And there's not much to really say there. And I move on from my turn. We get a 4 rolled, which gives me a another 2, or actually it gives me 3 of the 4 ore, because I have 1 city and 1 settlement. Orange wants to give a brick for a wheat, which I don't think there's a lot of wheat on the board, but he decides to go in that direction. Now, moving on, he's got 5 cards in his hand. He wants to give an ore for a wheat and a sheep, which, again, if you're giving up 1 card and you want 2 cards in return, that's not going to happen. If you were giving up 2 cards and you wanted 1 in return, that's a lot easier. And so he ends his turn, and we move on with a 3, which gives me 2 sheep. And blue uses his knight, moves to robber, and steals, and ends up stealing the 12, which I don't really know why. Again, he hasn't gone for me. 4 is rolled, which gives me 3 of those ore, and again he moves the knight there, which is odd because it did block it, but I have the most points. Why wouldn't you go for me? So what I do here is I port 4 of those, and end up adding in one of the those wheats, and then I also will add in and get a city, which I get a very nice wood, which gives me what I need. Now I only have 2 cards, which are both ore. 7 is rolled, and orange has a choice to make. Blue has to get rid of a little bit, and so does orange. They both have to get rid of 4. Well, actually, orange has to get rid of 5, and blue had to get rid of 4. So we will see where he goes. He probably should put it on me because I am the lead. He should put it on that 11 because that is where I am connected with somebody. he could put on that 3 as well. But he chooses instead not to even bother with me and goes on the blue and goes on the red. Obviously, poor planning on these guys' part because they don't even know what they should be doing at this point, and that is just going for me because I'm the lead. We see Orange adding in a development card, and he tries for a trade, which is declined, and moves his turn. Now we have Blue, who is up, and they currently have longest road with 6 roads. They end up rolling a 3, which gives me two sheep, and yeah, that's a pretty good roll there. Blue has 6 cards, and they have a bunch of different things they could do. They could build on that 10-9 or they could try and go for another city. They could go for a development card. They could add another road. Unfortunately, the only way they can get more roads is if they go add a road on that 4-5, add a road on the 4-11, and go towards that way, because going up the 3-8-4 spot, they only can add one more road, which would give them 7 total. If they want to connect just how it is. So they have to find another way to go around because that is blocked off. So, yeah, at this point, Blue is basically trying to plan out their best move of attack. Now, some people who play Catan are tracking everyone's moves and tracking the cards and all that. I'm not really that good at tracking yet, and I'm not sure exactly what's inside of his hand besides the one sheep that was just rolled. I'm not really paying attention to anybody else's game but my own unless it kind of affects me. So right now, I don't really know what he has, but he moves on anyways. A 2 is rolled, which was 1 brick, which comes to me, thanks to my most recent settlement. And now we have Red, who has a chance to do something. With 3 cards, they move on. It is my roll, and now I am up. Not much I can do with this hand. I could do a 2 sheep for 1 wood and just swap that and get another road. And I could go towards this wheat port, which is the 2-5 brick and wood. I end up getting what I needed anyways, which is the wood, and I build towards that wheat port. I do have a 9 and a 10 wheat, which are pretty good numbers for wheat. There was great numbers for wheat. We have 9, 10, and 6, which are pretty good, and I'd say that's up there for the best numbers on the board. We have 1 10 rolled, which gives me another development card if I choose to go in that direction. And then we see a knight used by Orange. So Orange now can move the knight. Again, at this point, I'd probably put it on me because you're assuming that I have 7 points, maybe 8. But he moves it to red, which I don't know why he does that. Interesting. If somebody has a development card just sitting there and it's been sitting there for a few turns, most likely that means they have a victory point because they would have used it by now. So, unfortunately, there's nothing that he did right there. He should have just put it on me in some fashion. He ends up trying to go for a wheat, which he fails. He tries 2 sheep for a wheat this time, which is a better trade, especially near the end of the game, but it doesn't really seem like it does too much there. And I actually decided to take that move because why not? I can still do a 2-for-1 swap anyways, and he buys a development card, which is not bad. An 8 is rolled, which gives me 1 sheep. So at this point, I could, if I get another ore or I get another wheat, I could move on and do some porting and eventually get another city, which is definitely possible for sure. I'm at 8 points right now, which is which is pretty good for me. Yeah, blue at the moment is just sitting there with one road built, and it looks like maybe they try and go towards that 9-4-11, which it seems like red could be going there, and orange is potentially going to be there. And so it's a dogfight to that one, which helps me because they're not going after me. They're going after that spot. And now we have my turn after red. Red ends up getting a 10, which gives me 2 wheat, which helps because now I can just two for 1 and get a city, which I don't need to even bother because I get what I needed, which was a 4. And I get 2 of those. So I'm at 9 points. I decide to go for a victory point, which gets me the elusive 10, gives me what I needed, and that victory point seals the deal at the end of the day. So that was a good game. Obviously, I do feel like the opponents did not place the robber on me when they probably should have. And if you're a veteran of the game, you most likely would do that. I just felt like this was not something that they ended up doing the right way, and not really complaining on that front. And, I think there's nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, it was a good game all around.